come back and elaborate even more so that we can give our listening audience even more information so that they can be well informed as they strategize for their own retirement planning.
Oh, yes. I'm happy to come back and give as much information that I can on a general basis because there is a market out there, especially the real estate market, and people need to take advantage of it. So if we can get the word out whichever way we can, and Jackie, I think your program's an excellent way to do that, I'm all for it. So that's why I'm here. If there's any questions or if you have anything you want me to elaborate, I'm glad to do it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And you can call in. You can call into 630-215-8582 if you'd like more information. If you're right at that stage and you want to invest in real estate, attorney, she is the owner Realty located in the city of Country Club Hills, and her practice concentrates on residential, commercial real estate, foreclosures, estate planning, business, transactional law, personal injury, civil litigation, and bankruptcy, just to name a few. And she also heads the Home Adventures Law Group, which is a division of her office, and they focus on comprehensive options for clients facing foreclosure. So she's so it's the same thing here. So you prepared with your credit, and you make sure you're prepared with your dollars. So, you start to say, okay, I'm going to save maybe 20% of my paycheck, every paycheck, and I'm going to save X amount of dollars every paycheck, every month, and within 6 months, I want to be here. I want to be prepared to start looking. In 1 year, I want to be here. I want to start looking. So that means you may need to start packing a little bit more lunches, or maybe only eat out once a week because you have a goal, or maybe cut down on your weekend shopping. if you're shopping every weekend, perhaps you may want to just shop every other month. You know.
Right. It does. I mean, it does take discipline.
Discipline.
Right. If you want to start saving, but some people say, well, discipline. Sometimes I cheat a bit, but you can. I think you need to have it reasonable. Sometimes there's little things. I notice that, sometimes I can do things that are just small, things that I don't even think about. If you start looking at maybe some of the things that you pay for, I notice like cable can go up high and you'll let that bill go on and on and on, and they're charging you extra charges that you don't even know about. They're saying that you rented a movie when you didn't. That's like $10. So sometimes it's just taking time out to even look at your bills, like your cell phone bill, your utility bills, things like that. You need to take a look at. And believe it or not, as an attorney, I have people come in actually saying they've charged me this and I don't know where it came from. And you'll be surprised because we're so busy just saying, okay, trusting that this is the bill and paying it, that we don't take time to look at it and see what the differences are. And so sometimes even if you just become more proactive in seeing what people are charging you, why they're charging you, you can actually save money that way as well too.
I'm so glad you brought that point up, because I always say we're so busy making the money and we're trying to keep as much of it as we can, while every other entity that's out there is trying to take our money.
Exactly. Right, without a cause, without a reason. Don't be surprised. You're like, seeing a charge on there, you're like, okay, did I really do this? And I'm not saying that you have to spend some people are really like, they go over every particular thing. I'm not even like that. I mean, we have other things to do, but sometimes you do need to step back and say, I'm charged one charge this month, next time I'm charged this charge, because believe me, like you said, companies, that's how they make their money, getting people that are unsuspected, sliding charges in there that they won't even recognize. And we as consumers, we have to be on our guard as well too, to take a look at it and make sure they stay in line, because they're the ones that are profiting. And you might say, well, it's just a nickel, but how many nickels are there out there with this company? It adds up. Exactly.
And even the grocery bill. You want to look on your grocery. There's been so many times I looked on my grocery bill and I've been double charged, or I was charged for something that I didn't purchase. And so, I've had to go back and challenge the grocery store on it. So what I try to do as much as possible is before I even leave the store, I take a look. I take a look at everything on there to make sure that it's accurate.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, you have to. Especially now that everything's so automated. Even sales, like they'll tell you a sale $9.99, and then when you get up to the counter, it's still showing $13.99. And I'm one of those that I'll definitely catch that. If you show me that it's $9.99, and yet when you scan it, it comes up $13.99, and that's what you want to charge me. No, you can't do that.
Yeah, that's a problem. That's false advertising.
Right, exactly. So things like that, you have to be aware of, because if you want to save money, you want to make sure you keep money that you're not spending, So things like that, every day, activities that you do, you need to check your bills and so forth. And I think that is a way,
for budgeting.
Right, for budgeting as well, too.
Excellent. I agree with that. And you'd be surprised how much you can save in doing that, and that helps to increase your chances of purchasing. It increases your purchasing power. Right. And also another thing in the planning is to make sure that your debt ratio is in line. What is a debt ratio? It's your income divided by your expenses.
Right.
And that gives you your debt to income ratio, which is one of the vehicles that they use to approve you when you're looking for mortgage financing and they're underwriting your file. So you yourself, before you even start the mortgage process, I recommend that you start to add up all of your debts in one column. Add them up. Okay, my car note, my rent, my credit card, my charge card for Carson's. Add up all of your debts, my water, whatever it is, and add your electricity. Just add up all of your responsibilities on one column. and specifically the ones that are reported on your credit report. So if you have an installment loan, you have a car note that's reporting, you specifically want to calculate those on your expenses column. Then the second column will be your income. Then once you add it up and you get a total, you divide your debt to your income, and that will give you the formula that you need. And you want to be around 30%. You want to be around 30, no more than 35%, because I believe if you're over 38%, then that knocks you down. So you want to make sure that you give yourself a little cushion. So if you can maintain your debt ratio between 30 and 35%, you are in good shape.
Okay.
And so that's another part of the planning process. In addition to budgeting and saving and putting away your cushion, it's all a preparation. It's worth doing, because when you like Attorney Doss was just saying, when you purchase property, there's so many benefits of it, because you get tax write-offs that you wouldn't have had before.
Right.
In addition to that, you're building up equity that you can use to borrow from and use it to purchase investment property to help build your wealth, your net worth. I didn't say to pull it out to go on a shopping spree. Pull it out to help build your wealth. And so on last week's show, we talked about using young people specifically. You're coming out of college and you got student loan debt that you're going to have to pay back, and you're looking for a job. Well, in addition to that first new job that you're getting, think about becoming an investor. Think about purchasing your first home. And I recommend that you look to purchase a single family or a 1 to 4 unit property that you can draw some investment income from as well. And so while you're young, don't wait until you're old to start to build up your own wealth accumulation. Start young, so that by the time you're older, like Attorney Doss was saying, there's no age on retiring. You don't have to wait until you're 59 and a half.
No, you don't. You can retire at 30 from whatever particular activity that you choose to do. If it's investing in real estate and you built your fortune at 30, you can retire from it if you want to. Yes. And then also, Jackie, I want to talk about the debt ratio as far as credit cards, because another issue comes in as far as credit cards, because I have clients that sometimes come in and they're like, well, I don't want any credit cards, and because I didn't have any credit cards, they didn't give me financing. So is it that I do believe that you do have to have some credit, because you do have to show your ability to pay, but you do have to keep it in reason? Is that?
Yes, and the rule of thumb for that, Attorney Doss, is 3 trade lines.
Okay.
You need to have at least 3 trade lines. So if you have a credit card and, let's say, a car note and another credit line, that's 3 trade lines at least. So if you have 3 to 5 credit lines that you've kept in good standing, and it shows a good credit score, then that's a good risk. So once you are building credit, you want to keep in mind, you want to keep your credit score up. You want to make sure that you have a good payment history, and then you want to make sure that your debt ratio is in line.
Okay, because I do have clients come in like complaining, like, Attorney Doss, do I need to sue these people? I pay cash for everything, and so I should be able to get financing. But as I figured, and that's what I told them, in financing, you have to show that you do have an ability to pay. So you do need like 1 or 2 credit cards. But again, like you said, you do have to keep it within a reasonable amount so that your debt ratio is showing something like you said, 38% or so forth.
And that's the reason why when I had that conversation with my sons, and I was talking to them about building credit, and I helped my one of my sons build his credit, and we talked about the importance of it and how to use it in strategy. And then my younger one, who just graduated from high school, is getting ready to enter college, we talked about it, and we just helped him get his first credit card. And so, I tell them, use a small amount and try and build it, pay it back. and don't go overboard. Be responsible with it. So we've had this conversation.
Right. And actually, they have changed regulation because these credit card companies would actually target college students.
Yes.
And they would get them to get these charge cards. And as you know, as a college student, you don't have any money.
Mm-hmm.
So they would get these cards and they'd go crazy charging everything and then wouldn't have the ability to pay it.
Back.
So once they got out of college, they were already in a substantial amount of debt.
Mm-hmm.
And unlike it going on their parents' credit, it actually goes on the college students' credit.
Mm-hmm.
So their credit was ruined. So there are regulations against that, which is a great change.
It's a great change because it's important to be responsible with it.
Right.
And so that comes in again. What comes in? Education.
Right.
You know, it's important. In schools, they do not have credit literacy classes in schools, and I think they should. I really do think they should have that in place where students can learn about the importance of credit and how to maintain credit and how to build wealth and all of that. I believe that our students need financial literacy as well.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, it would be great if they do that, but if they don't, I think programs such as this, getting our kids to listen, parents to listen as well, because the parents can transfer the information as well.
Exactly.
Too. So, you hear stories about kids having banking accounts. They can open up their own banking account and giving a child a credit card and having them look at the bill and having them know what they can pay, what they can't pay. So you have to get them, into the market as well,
yes,
in a way that lets them know how things work, because as kids sometimes we have a tendency as parents just to say here's the money, and they don't know where the money comes from, how they get it, how to invest it, and they need the knowledge as well.
I agree. It's a concerted effort.
Right, exactly.
It's a concerted effort. Just as I sat down with my boys and I explained things to them, and then I advised them what to do about the credit card, and I am encouraging them to invest in real estate. I'm encouraging them to do that young.
Yes. No, definitely. And like I keep saying, the market is perfect for people to get into now, especially young people. Maybe they are at lower incomes, or they may even be at higher incomes, but it's a perfect opportunity because there's tons of houses out there. I mean, with the foreclosure market, there's still, even today, there's still foreclosures going on at a rate where there's still houses being put on the market and discounted, because a lot of these houses are bank owned. And what I mean by bank owned, that means once you foreclose on a home, if there's no other purchaser, the bank ends up having that property. But banks aren't supposed to hold property, so they have to sell them, and they will sell them at a discount rate if time passes and so forth, just to collect what they can off of them. So you are getting these homes out there that are foreclosed, that are bank owned, and that you can negotiate with the bank and get a really good deal off of them. So it's an opportunity that everyone should take advantage of.
Yes, I agree. And so that's the key point that we're trying to make today, that real estate should be a part of your retirement planning.
Yes.
And if you look at the bank statements and the portfolio of any person that has accumulated wealth, you will notice that real estate is a big part of their wealth building. It's a big part of their overall portfolio.
Right, that's true. If you look at it, just they were saying Prince actually had, multiple real estate purchases. Even though he didn't plan, what to do with them afterwards, which I think that's a mistake, and a whole nother show could be discussed about that. But he did have a large real estate portfolio.
Yeah, I think we're definitely going to have you back for estate planning at some point, because it's something else that we neglect, that we need to put attention to, for sure. And again, when you know better, you do better, and that's why we have the show here, Money Matters with Jackie Dussard-Sanders, every Friday from 11 to 12, so that we can share the information with you. And I often recommend, grab a pad and pencil so you can write some of this valuable information down so that you can go back to it, so that when you find yourself in the predicament, oh, okay, I'm ready to purchase. I'm ready to make my first purchase. Okay, I just started this new job, and they are telling me to that I'm eligible to invest in the 401k, or what should I do here? Okay, I'm leaving my job now, and I have this lump sum money. Do I leave it with the company, or do I roll it over into another instrument? If you take your notes, those are all things that we're talking about on the show every week. Those are all things that we're talking about to help you plan for your retirement, to help you plan and build your own wealth, to help you diversify the different vehicles that you put in place. Because if you remember, we stated that you cannot just depend on the 401k. You cannot just depend on Social Security. You cannot just depend on the SEP IRA. You cannot just depend on the Roth IRA or a traditional IRA. It is a concerted effort of diversity that helps you to attain the type of wealth that you need to build in order to enjoy a real good lifestyle after you retire, to make sure that you're not forced into working after you're supposed to be retired. And I don't want that for me, and I don't want that for you. So I'm hoping that you're just grasping all of this information, and that you are taking it in, and you're taking notes, and that you will actually utilize the information that we're giving you. And so we talked about the young people out there that are listening, and parents and grandparents who have young people and recent college grads or upcoming college grads. Share this information with them. I always say I want my kids to do better than I did. I want them to
It should be generation wealth building.
Exactly.
Right. You want generations, and I think that's what we need. We need to have each generation do better.
Yes.
And improve and increase the wealth. And you have to account for inflation, but you want, even after inflation, that the next generation has improved wealth-wise and has built that wealth. Because a lot of times, America, you'll see that some of the wealthy people have monies that have been built from prior generations. Mm-hmm. Even if we talk about, if you even bring in Donald Trump, they talk about him as far as what did his father give him? $1 million. Mm-hmm. And from the $1 million, Donald Trump is saying, well, I built from there. So that's what it is. It's wealth building. And that's what you want, generations of wealth building.
Excellent. I absolutely agree. And I think in our community specifically, especially, we have not really exercise that process.
Exactly. I think we are weak in that aspect because we've had some drawbacks ourselves. I mean, there's been opportunities that have been taken from us that did not allow us for our prior generations to obtain the wealth. But now I do think there's opportunities. We just have to go out there and seek it and get our children, our young people, and I'm glad you brought up about, getting the college students out, and even the ones that don't even go to college, to find a direction that they can do something to get wealth, in legitimate ways.
Yes.
So, and real estate is one of those ways.
It's one of those ways. I'm so glad you brought that up because we have so many issues with unemployment and can't find work and just depending on others to create a path for you. Create your own path. Create your own path. Even if you're working at McDonald's, or Burger King or what have you, take that money, save that money, put a plan in place, and decide to invest in some real estate. I've always said, be the ruler of your own destiny. Do not make anyone else in charge of creating your own destiny. Whether you are a college student or a worker or if you've inherited some money left to you by a family member, use that money wisely. Don't go out there and blow it on gym shoes. Don't go out there and blow it on a vehicle. Don't go out there and blow it on something frivolous that will be gone tomorrow. But let that money keep on giving.
Right. And you know, the generation now, they're so used to like instant gratification, and it doesn't happen overnight. You have to work at it. You have to do it. And I guess that's just our generation now. You know, I have my nephew. I tell him all the time. He's like, "Well, I'm gonna be, you know, I want to make this money," but he wants to make it today.
Right.
You can, but you have to prepare for it. It takes time. It's not where you get it just because you want it today. You get it today, but you can work towards it and you can build towards it. So when it's done right and built up, then you can go and do whatever you want because you have that money, and the money, you won't lose it. That's the biggest problem, that people, if they get it quickly, they lose it just as fast. So you want to know how. It's just like with anything, even with dieting, you don't lose 10 pounds in a day. It's just no such thing.
Right.
You have to grow and have to build and do what you need to do, and then you lose it gradually, and then eventually it stays off. It's the same thing with planning, with retirement and so forth, and building wealth. You have to do the things that are necessary so that you won't lose it, that it'll stay there, that it'll grow, and that you can pass it on, and that's what we need to do.
I agree with that. It's preparing for tomorrow. And when my kids were little, I used to read them the story of the ant and the grasshopper, and how the ant always planned for tomorrow. When it was warm outside, he was gathering for the winter so that he would be nice and cozy and warm with a cupboard full of food in the warmth. While the grasshopper just partied all the time and had that instant gratification and just enjoyed. He hopped around and just partied and just enjoyed the nice weather. And then when the winter came, he had nothing that he'd stored. He had not prepared for tomorrow.
Right.
And so he was not prepared.
But, you know, I think, but our generation today, we like the grasshopper. The grasshopper is the cool person. That's what it is, you know. So that's why we have to kind of change the perception, because we're into the flash, the glitter, you know, the videos, the, you know, instant gratification. And so that's why, you know, we need to talk about wealth building to investment. You know, change the perception that retirement is when you're 60 or 59 and a half. You know, we have to get those ideas out there that, yes, you can have just as much of the bling bling and the glitz and glamour.
But plan for it.
And you will keep it as well.
That's right. Change your mindset. Change your mindset. It's all about changing your mindset. And when you change your mindset, then you can change a generation. You can change your legacy. And so we're going to take a quick break in just a moment, and then we're going to continue. I hope you're getting a lot of important information, and this is information that you will actually utilize and exercise in your daily lives. You're listening to Money Matters with Jackie Dussard-Sanders on Smooth 90.5 FM, and we'll be right back.
from a little girl, a young girl, who was a student at the White Plains High School. And I looked at that letter and I'll never forget it. It said simply, "Dear Dr. King, I am a 9th grade student at the White Plains High School." She said, "While it should not matter, I would like to mention that I'm a white girl. I read in the paper of your misfortune and of your suffering. And I read that if you had sneezed, you would have died. I'm simply writing you to say that I'm so happy that you didn't sneeze. And I want to say tonight, that I too am happy that I didn't sneeze, because if I had sneezed, I wouldn't have been around here in 1960. And students all over the South started sitting in at lunch counters. And I knew that as they were sitting in, they were really standing up for the best in the American dream, taking the whole nation back to those great wells of democracy, which were dug deep by the founding fathers in the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. If I had sneezed, I wouldn't have been around here in 1961 when we decided to take a ride for freedom and ended segregation in interstate travel. If I had sneezed, I wouldn't have been around here in 1962 when Negroes in Albany, Georgia decided to straighten their backs up. And whenever men and women straighten their backs up, they are going somewhere, because a man can't ride your back unless it is bent. If I had sneezed, I wouldn't have been here in 1963. Black people, Birmingham, Alabama, roused the conscience of this nation, brought into being the civil rights bill. If I had sneezed, I wouldn't have had a chance later that year in August to try to tell America about a dream that I had had. If I had sneezed, been down in Selma, Alabama, to see the great movement there. If I had sneezed, I wouldn't have been in Memphis to see a community rally around those brothers and sisters who are suffering. I'm so happy that I didn't sneeze. And they were telling me, now it doesn't matter now. It really doesn't matter what happens now. I left Atlanta this morning, and as we got started on the plane, there were 6 of us. Pilot said over the...
You're listening to Money Matters on Smooth 90.5 FM. HD Radio on Smooth 90.5 FM. Give us a call at 630-215-8582. That's 630-215-8582. Now, back to the Jackie Desire Sanders Show, Money Matters on Smooth 90.5 FM.
Hi, I'm back. And I'm here in the studio with attorney Leowana Das, and we've been talking about real estate and using real estate as part of your retirement planning. So we've talked a lot within the last couple of weeks about planning for your retirement and just mixing in the diversity with real estate. So one of the things that I want to elaborate a bit on is the underwriting process. A lot of people, because we talked about budgeting and putting things in place, and then finding the property, and so you cannot relax just because you've done all of that. Because you've done all of that and your file is in with the underwriter, you've been approved, you think everything is hunky-dory. Absolutely not. You cannot think that is totally in stone until you're actually at the closing table signing the closing documents. And you don't want to make any major purchases or put a monkey wrench in your approval. And I'm going to have Attorney Doss to elaborate a little bit on why it's important not to make any major purchases during the mortgage process.
Well, Jackie, that's basically because, as you representing the banking industry know, that as soon as you make a purchase, some people think that it doesn't show up on your credit, but it does. So I have had clients, and I advise them all, do not make any purchases. Keep paying your bills like you usually do. Don't try to come up with mega cash during the time of the financing, because they do track everything. When you're in the mortgage process and trying to get approved for a loan, they look at everything. I even tell clients, don't be surprised if they don't know your blood type by the time you're done. Now, I know that's going far, but it's very particular. Even now, now it's even more so in the sense that they want to make sure that everything's clean. And what's good about the process, though, that once you buy your home, your credit is A1 credit, because everything is cleaned up, everything looks good, and you can buy whatever you want. But when you go out and make any type of major purchase, like some people will see furniture, oh, I love that furniture, it go great in the living room. But if you purchase it and if you use credit, then we go back to that debt ratio again, and it will show up, and it may throw your debt ratio off and cause problems as far as getting approved for the loan. So you don't want to go out there making any major purchases. Don't buy a car. If you want that car, tell them to hold it. If you want to wait till you close, if you want to close at 10 o'clock in the morning, and once you close and sign those documents, and then you want to go out to that car dealer, go ahead. Congratulations, because you made it through the process and you're ready to go. But then again, realize we're not talking about instant gratification. Just because you got that home, you want to make sure you keep it. That's why we're talking about reserves, the debt ratio, and all of that, to make sure that you keep it as well, too. So, so definitely do not make any major purchases while you're trying to get a home.
Absolutely, because the underwriter is constantly looking at your file.
Exactly.
There's an underwriter that's working on your file as well as a loan processor.
Yeah.
And the loan processor works with the mortgage company and works with the underwriter. So they're working together to make sure that everything, when your file comes out of underwriting, and it'll come out of underwriting 2 or 3 times before it closes, sometimes 4 or 5 times. Mm-hmm. And if then that's why the processor is always calling you, okay, we need more information about this or that or the other. So it's a work in process during the whole mortgage process. And so they're looking to make sure that you have not made any new purchases, because that could knock your debt ratio out of line. And remember, we talked about debt ratio to make sure that you are between 30 to 35, because if you're 38 or over, you no longer qualify.
Right. Yeah, because at closing, they could actually, the day of closing, look at your credit if they wanted to.
And they do sometimes.
Right, yeah, so.
Sometimes they do.
Okay.
Sometimes they do. You get, you're supposed to close on, let's say you're supposed to close on Monday. Today is Friday, and you've got to clear to close. There's no guarantee that they won't pull your credit report right before issuing that clear to close.
Okay, yeah. And that's why I always tell my clients, do not make any major purchases. And then also make sure you pay your bills. And then also, as far as now, Jackie can tell me as far as this as well, even receiving monies, because sometimes people think that, well, if I get $10,000, from a cousin or my mom or something like that, that's going to help me because I can put this in the bank and I'm going to look good. No, not necessarily, because if that money they track, they want to know where that money came from.
Right.
So you're not going to necessarily get credit for it, saying, well, I just made $10,000. They will have documentation ask for documentation showing where you got that cash from.
That is such a good point, because that's the reason they ask for 3 months worth of bank statements. And they'll ask for your retirement statement, your 401k statement. They'll ask for all of that because they want to know where all of your money for the down payment is coming from. They want to make sure that you're not doing any money laundering. to make sure that you're not doing anything underhanded. And if someone is giving you a gift, they have to clarify it. There's a document that has to be provided that states that my grandmother gave me a gift of $10,000 towards my down payment,
Right.
and your grandmother has to sign it, and you have to sign it, and then it's submitted to underwriting, and they underwrite it along with all of your other documents. And so if you've got $10,000 cash that you put in the account 3 days before closing, they want to know where that money came from. And so everything, there's a paper trail. Even the funds that you bring to closing has to be in the form of a cashier's check or a money order, so that they can track every penny.
Right. Yeah, they do. They track everything, and because what they're looking at you and your ability to purchase. It's not your mom, your grandmother, or anyone else. It's your ability. So that's what they want, and they want to make sure that the funds, wherever they're coming from, it's based on you and your ability to, if it's your money, fine. They have no problems with it, but you have to show where it's coming from. Or if it's a gift, you can have a gift. It's nothing wrong. Jackie, I think they allow you to have a gift.
Up to a certain amount.
Okay,
They'll allow you a gift up to a certain amount, and they'll let you know what that amount is.
Okay, right. And even as a gift, but then again, they're still looking as you and your ability, because the whole idea, and that's what happened with the crash, we forgot about the idea of getting the home and keeping it. Mm-hmm. They allow people to get homes, but they didn't have the plan for them to keep it.
Exactly.
And that's why we ended up in the foreclosure mess that we did.
Mm-hmm. And that's going to be another show that we are going to talk about, how to avoid foreclosure. And if you find yourself in foreclosure, how can you get out of it? So that'll be another show down the road that we'll be talking. We'll be talking about all of your money matters here. That's what we do on Money Matters with Jackie Dussard Sanders. That's the whole purpose of the show. So anything that has to do with your money, we're going to be talking about it at one time or another on this show, because your money matters. And just a couple of things I want to hit on before we actually wrap up the show. I'd like to talk a little bit about cash purchases. We've talked about no major cash purchases during the mortgage process and the consequences of costing you that approval and not getting the home. So we've already talked about that, but just to hit on a little bit of cash purchases.
Oh, yeah, sure. You can definitely buy real estate with cash. As a matter of fact, it's kind of funny. I had one client that came to my office, after the real estate crash, and I think the purchase was like about $12,000, and so he was trying to get monies for rehabbing as well, which made the loan that he was applying for a loan, which would make it larger. But then he said, well, you know what, if we just get the house, I'll just use my credit card. Now that's weird to hear, like, to buy real estate on a credit card, but the market had crashed to a certain point where there are still some homes, even though they do need a lot of work, that you could actually purchase on a credit card if you want. And it's nothing wrong with purchasing cash. I mean, actually, realtors, love cash. Attorneys love cash because the money's there. But what you have to do is show proof of funds. And what proof of funds is not necessarily giving out all your banking information. It's just showing that you have funds available to make the purchase for whatever the amount of the home is. So if you have a contract for a home for $30,000, you have to show that in your bank account you have funds available for at least that purchase price amount, the $30,000. And you can definitely do that. You don't have to go through the financing. You don't have to answer questions. And a lot of people do have savings. Like you said, you can use your home to get a line of equity, or you can have cash that you've put away, that you've made from prior purchases. You can sell a home and still have monies available to make future purchases with cash. So this way you don't have to go through the whole process of trying to get approved. Credit doesn't matter. With a cash purchase, you just have the monies available, and you have to bring the monies at closing in a cashier's check. The only thing with cash purchases, though, you do have to be careful, because with cash purchases, you don't have all the I guess, the regulations in the sense that you might not have an appraisal done of the home. You probably won't unless you do it. Whereas with the mortgage, you would have them appraise the home to make sure that the value's there. So in that sense, I would suggest you probably would need more of an attorney to look over your documentation and everything. Usually with cash purchases, you don't find a lot of first-time home buyers. You do sometimes now because, if you have the monies available, but
in most cases,
investors.
And even double closings. If
Right.
it's an investor, they'll close with that cash purchase, and then you'll turn around and they'll be selling it right there. It's a double closing.
Well, you can if they're able to have it rehabbed. So the double closing is not like the same day. It might be where the person buys it, an investor buys it, then rehabs it, and then sells it later at a later date. And they can do that. And often what they do is they may sell it to a first-time home buyer or for a mortgage company. But then that's when the mortgage company comes in to make sure that they're not just saying that they rehab this property and so that it looks good. They want to make sure that the monies and the everything has been complied with and that it does meet whatever value they're trying to sell it for.
Wonderful. Well, you've been listening to Money Matters with Jackie Dussard-Sanders and attorney Leowana Doss, and I hope that you've enjoyed the show. We've enjoyed just giving all this information to you. It's been a joy for us, and we hope that you grabbed your pen and paper and that you took lots of notes. And we're going to see you next week. I'll be back again for a new show, and we're going to continue the topic of using real estate for retirement purposes. And, we're going to continue this conversation and talk about various aspects. We're going to talk about the investor portion of it and how it's made up. We're going to talk about private money, hard money, rehabbing, 203Ks, and we're going to talk about all of that in the upcoming shows. So we hope that you'll join in with us. And you've been listening to Money Matters with Jackie Dussard-Sanders on Smooth 90.5 FM HD. Have a great weekend.
Take a stroll through your mind. Sometimes you'll be surprised at your mind. Yeah, take a stroll through your mind. Take a stroll through your mind. Take a stroll through your mind. Sometimes you'll be surprised.